You are listening to a Freedom Student Ministry podcast.
So for this week, we asked all the leaders to kind of share their testimonies with you guys because Austin and I were thinking what we could do, and it's really cool to kind of see where each of us came from, and that life's not always been super easy. But when we pull Jesus in and we say, "Hey, I'm yours," and we surrender our life to Him, the way that we're going through hard times can make it a lot easier. And so all of us leaders are just kind of going to go through and share our stories with you guys. And then at the end, be thinking if any question pops up for a certain leader, we'll have a time where you can ask those questions. So Andre, you can go first.
Guys, really quick, let's just pay attention to whoever's speaking and just really focusing on them. It's kind of spontaneous for them to be speaking. It's it might be tough. So let's just focus in on them. They really want to share their testimony because they really love you guys and they want you guys to grow in your faith. So let's just really focus in and dive into that tonight. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin. So I gave my life to Jesus about 5 years ago in 2012. And before that, I was part of the, I guess you can call it the cool kids and cool cats. And I used to be really good at sports. My main sport was wrestling, and I used to, that was my life. I would cling on to wrestling. I was hoping to get a scholarship through wrestling because it was actually a way of me releasing stress, and it was just really fun at the same time. So during that time, I really started getting wrapped in. That started getting wrapped with my identity as I just started to identify myself by what I did, and I started to really get lost. My relationships with my parents, my siblings. I have 7 siblings, so if you can't get along with one sibling, that's understandable. But 7 different people in your life or in your family that you can't get along with, that's something. That's something personal. And so I didn't really get along with many of my family members growing up because I kept being just outside and just isolated myself from family. I only had friends, and even the people I hung out with, they didn't really feel like my friends. They really felt like just people I hung out with. There's no depth in relationship, no intimacy. It was just kind of hey, we're hanging out. That's about it. Or hey, we're smoking weed. That's about it. Or hey, let's get drunk. And so I never really experienced being vulnerable or feeling that intimacy with a person until I began going to this youth group, and for the first time ever, I was able to open up really to my youth pastor. His name is Greg, and really began opening up to him, and he started being the person that I could talk to about, I can come up to him and I can be like, dude, I just got wasted last week. He's like, bro, he would just not condemn me, but he would talk to me about it, and he would actually want to hear about it. He would want to ask, if I didn't show up one Friday, he's like, dude, where were you, man? We're expecting you to show up and hang out with us. And it's funny because when you're in sin, you always want to find excuses. So I would always find excuses I was doing this or I was doing that, and I didn't want to be honest. But he kept pursuing my heart, and I just kept eventually opening up more and more. It wasn't until I was 15 and a half, I went to a conference, and I knew about Jesus. I just never really committed my heart to him. So it was something I really didn't care. I cared less about. And I went to this conference, and my life was just changed. I was so different, and it was just a big conference that happened in Washington. I got invited by Greg and with the youth group to go, and for something at the conference grabbed my heart at that moment. It was during a worship service, and it wasn't the words, it wasn't anything. I just right there and then, I just felt like my life was almost empty. I was in relationships. I was addicted to pornography. Masturbation was I was a slave to that, and it was something that I couldn't get myself out of, even if I tried. And I've tried. But when I was at this conference, something in me just changed. My focus changed. My attitude changed. My lifestyle changed. Everything around me started to change. And I began seeking God. Like I would remember going home after that conference, and I would spend like hours in my room just alone, closing my door, and I would read the Bible, and I would start talking to God. And I never really knew how to pray, except for my mom, or being at church. I've heard people pray in Russian, and people pray and just in their way, but I never really had my way of prayer, so I never knew what prayer was with God and what the relationship even looked like until after the conference. I was never taught. I just went in my room and I was like, God, I want more of you. I'm hungry for you, and I surrendered everything to Him. Gave Him my life, gave Him my friends, and I gave up everything. Gave up wrestling. Gave up everything that had a cling on my life that I was finding my identity from. Just gave it all up and said, God, I'm surrendering everything to you. And for me, that was me being stripped from everything. For some of you, it may look different, but for me, like it was, I had to surrender everything I thought was part of my life, and I just let it go. And the biggest scripture that impacted my life during that time was Jesus said, if you want to be my followers, then you must lay down your life and pick up your cross. And you must love me more than you love your family, more than you love your friends, more than you love your spouse, more than you love your boyfriend, girlfriend, more than you love your best friend. Like, to lay down your life and to follow Jesus means that sometimes your family may not agree with it, but for me, I had to make that stance and say, even though I may have opposition, and I did, I had a lot of opposition in school, and especially in 9th grade, carrying my Bible around school, I had so much opposition. And even like with some of my family members, just so much, like I had people, some of my close family members like would mock me or make fun of me because I was different. And they didn't do that before Jesus, but then once I received Jesus, it just seemed so different outside their box. And so for me, it was just a life-changing experience where I laid down everything and began pursuing Him. So honestly, that was my journey. And when I gave my life to Jesus, pornography just stripped off. Masturbation stripped off. Cussing was no longer a habit. Like I didn't care. I just didn't care about cussing. I actually felt dirty every time I cussed, which I didn't cuss at all, so I wouldn't know how it would make me feel. Because once I gave my life to Jesus, I just knew that thing, it wasn't right, so I stopped it. And then even joking around with some friends about like just dirty stuff, joking about girls or about other guys, like it was I just stopped it. I just was like, I'm not gonna give into this stuff anymore. So I blocked everything that was unhealthy from my life. So that's my story.
Okay, well, you want the long version or the short?
Everything.
Well, okay, I'll just tell you the important parts. The important parts are, I grew up with God, went to church when I was a kid, went to Sunday school. My parents were involved with church. It was a doctorate in the church, so it was like they'd go through Romans or Ephesians in a whole year kind of thing. So nothing like here. So it was kind of boring, real boring, And I stopped going to church when I was about 14, 15 maybe, and because I got involved in sports. Football was my thing. I just got more focused in school and I really never really was truly connected to God. I mean, I knew a lot about the Bible, but I wasn't, my heart wasn't in it. So and this is important too. When I was a little kid, 1st and 2nd grade, I went to this place used to be called Clover Creek Baptist. It was 1974, way back in the day. So that's a big part of my story. But went to school here, then we moved, and I got really involved with sports, and really involved with schools, really involved with girls. I really wasn't into drugs until I got out of school, but I walked way away from God and didn't have really any connection. I dated a girl 1, maybe 2 years, that was involved with church big time. And so I went to church with her. I was like, hey, okay, who's this God guy? Is he really there? Kind of thing. I was real skeptical. When I was in college. I went to Montana State for a couple years. I played football there, and my last week of being there at school, I really had a moment with God because I got in a car accident, and I mean, we should have all died, but it didn't happen. So I was like, who's this God guy? What's he all about? Kind of thing. And years go by, I drift away from God again. Did a lot of things. I traveled around the United States. Been a lot of places. Shook a lot of hands. Met a lot of people, and did some crazy, stupid stuff in the meantime. Did some drugs. Not a lot of drugs, but just dabbled here and there, and never really was, interested in the drug crowd. I was really kind of against it to begin with, but once you get into that momentum of hanging out with bad things, it just becomes, part of you. So, 25, almost 30 years goes by, and I was living back with my parents. This happened in 2011. I was living with my parents, and my mom was diagnosed with brain cancer, and she died within 30 days of being diagnosed. So she was huge in my life. So that was a blow. And then not even 6 months later, my dad was. I worked a lot with my dad too. I mean, my dad was, in his own business for 35 years, and I was, part of that. Learned how to paint and build and all that stuff. But 6 months after my mom passed, he had to have his leg removed above the knee because of diabetes. And here I am with no job, into drugs, and not with God, and just kind of lost. Had nowhere to, had a lot of stupid idiot friends that I hung out with, and which made me stupid and idiotic too. So, but my dad went into a home, and I was stuck with the house that I grew up in. With I have 2 sisters and 2 brothers, and none of them were living at home, so just me. And I had no job, couldn't afford the rent, or not the rent, but the mortgage, because my parents were under, and they owed a lot more than what it was worth. So I struggled with that for 6 months. I stopped doing drugs for a little while, and I worked really hard to make money to pay for the house, and it didn't work out. So I became homeless. And in almost at the end of 2011, I was homeless. I had a backpack and a bicycle. I'd sold everything. Our house got repossessed by the bank. So, the sheriffs, they were at the house. They wouldn't let us in. Me and my little brother wouldn't let us in to get stuff, to get family stuff, which was, that was, so I lost just about everything except for a backpack and a bicycle, and down to, no money, no job, and I was homeless, sleeping on people's couches, hanging out with, working for drugs and working for little money, when my skills are, worth a lot. So I was pretty low in life, and pretty down. And I was looking in the mirror one day, and I was just like, man, I really don't know this guy. I don't know, I don't like this guy. I didn't like what I was doing, where I was going. And I wasn't depressed because God was there the whole time. I figured this out after the fact, but helping me walk through things and go through things, and because I had a pretty good attitude, even though I wasn't happy about me. Everybody around me was like, oh, he's cool, he's happy, he's in a good mood, he's a good helper, da 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 da. Things were said about me that were good, but I didn't feel good. So, early 2012, I used up all my options. Had nowhere to go. I grew up in Puyallup, and I'd used everybody that I knew that I could go and sleep at their house or stay in a trailer. And it got worse. And then this is what God does to you when you get in a really bad place. He strips you down, and get you where you're at your a raw state where you feel like you're empty, but he was really there for me. Anyway, I went because and freezing nights was happening, and I grew up Puyallup, didn't know about freezing nights at all, and I rode my bike from Puyallup to Tacoma to go to the mission because okay, we're gonna go to the mission because I know it's there and they got food and they got beds. Well, I showed up too late, didn't get a bed, but I got food. So I ended up sleeping 2 nights in an alley in between 2 dumpsters with 3 other guys that were getting hammered the whole time, drinking the whole time. And the second night I couldn't get a bed either because they take 250 people and I was like 257, 259. So I was like, oh. Third night I finally got a bed and the 2 guys next to me got beat up for his backpack and I was like, screw this, I'm out of here. So I rode back to Puyallup, pouring down rain, and I just, I got in McDonald's parking lot down in Puyallup, and I was like, okay, God, I have nowhere to go, nothing, no money, nothing, just take over my life. And since that time, He has been blessing me. And my third night in freezing nights, we pulled into the church parking lot here, and that was crazy. God bringing me home is what it was. So, and I got close with Jay and Wendy, many, all of you. It's huge, and it was. I really, really gave my life to God, and I said, "You run it. I don't know how to run it." And I'm 47 years old, and I feel like a little kid now. And God has been totally blessing me ever since then. I'm not counting the years anymore. I'm counting the time, right here and now. And I always get choked up when I talk about this stuff, but this is God showing you what my heart is like, and where I'm at. And I teach Sunday school. I'm part of the leadership team for the youth. I have a good job. I got a car. I got a license. I got a clean system. There's a lot of things to be grateful for, and God's He's ahead of me, behind me, next to me, and it's been a long road, but it's been the ending of my badness was it's over. It's done. I'm forgiven. I'm clean. Washed as white as snow. I could have done it by myself. I tried to do it by myself. Yeah, right. It didn't happen. But with God, being with God, I see love in all of you guys. I see love in this church. I see love that for the people that like Andre, I cut everybody off. Everybody that was involved with drugs, the only person I didn't cut off was my brother, and he's still involved with it, and he's in my prayers every day. But I needed that. I needed to be stripped down. I needed to be, clean slate, and it took a long time. It took 30 plus years for me to realize how good, how loving God is. And you may see tears in a 250-pound guy, but they're tears of joy. They're not sadness. And so now, I look at my life as I'm riding the spiritual wave of God. Okay, I'm riding that wave, and He's been blessing me with all kinds of crazy, unbelievable stuff, and I don't want it to end. I don't want it to go away. So anyway, I'm glad I'm here, and I'm thankful to God that He gives me opportunities to talk to you guys about this stuff and get it out, because it's real, and God is definitely real. So if you have questions about it, if you have doubts, I mean, ask him, talk to him. It's a relationship. Just like Congress said, you know, he's your friend, he's your buddy, he's your father, he's, you know, your creator. He's all kinds of things that are good. Nothing about God is bad. Nothing. Very good.
So, yeah, my story begins. I grew up in the church. I grew up with a dad as a pastor and a family that was heavily involved in serving within the church. And so I grew up knowing who God was, not fully, but knowing that He was real and that He is good. And I also grew up being taught by my parents, who were new Christians when, around the time I was born, maybe a couple years before I was born, they were new Christians. They grew up Catholic, but they didn't really follow Jesus. They didn't know what He was like. And then they surrendered their lives to Jesus probably when they were like 16 or 18 or something, and then they met and got married. So I grew up with parents who would teach me to do what is right because it was right, not because it pleased God. So I grew up very legalistic. You may have heard that word before. I wanted to do what was right because it was right, and I felt good about it that way. So I didn't really understand relationship with Jesus. I didn't really understand being obedient to Him because He's good and because it pleases Him and because it gives me joy too. And part of my story is I went to college at PLU, close by where I grew up, because I was very anxious and nervous about leaving home. I was a homebody. And then while I was in college, I got super depressed. I got really anxious. I would just be anxious about being around people, being around professors, or being around peers. Like I was just really nervous about it. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know my identity in the Lord. Even though I had grown up in church, that wasn't something that I felt like I was taught or really grabbed a hold of. So I allowed a lot of negative thoughts about myself or about life to creep into my head, and I got severely depressed to the point where I made myself sick. And I remember it was January. I was in an astronomy class, and my friend looked at me and she goes, "You look really sick. You should go home." And so I left the class early, and I went home, and nobody was home. I was living with my family at that time, so with my 3 siblings and my mom and dad. Nobody was home, and I went into my room, and I curled up into a ball on the floor. I just cried and groaned. I was at the lowest I'd ever been. And I felt so empty and didn't know who I was, or I don't know, it was really bad. And just it was awful. So my mom came home, and I just told her that this is the first thing I want to tell you guys, I shared with people where I was at, and that helped me come out of the pit I was in. So I'm a youth pastor, so I have a 3-point thing that I want to teach you guys. But I talked to my mom, and I said I needed help, and she helped me get help. She helped me go to a Christian counselor who set me up with antidepressant medication and helped me talk stuff out. And that was one of the things that helped me, especially because it was a Christian counselor, so she came at it from Jesus' perspective and prayed for me a lot. But the other thing during that time of depression, I still didn't know my identity, and I didn't know God very well, but I still remembered from my past that He's really good. So I would just say, "Okay, God, I trust You. I don't know who You are or what You're like necessarily or how to trust You, but I know that I've learned that You're the only way I can get out of this pit." And so I had to cling to Him almost literally to I just imagined myself in the bottom of this pit that I can't climb out of, and I had to literally cling to the rope that God threw me to help me out of that pit. And so that was a crazy moment in my life where I learned about trusting God, and I came out of it. It was it was a process, but I came out of it, and I came out stronger than I was before. But that's just one blip in my life. But basically, for my 30 years that I've been living, mostly for the past 8 years, it's been, I don't remember a time when I said, okay, Jesus, I give you my life. It's been like many times saying that and like learning more about what that means. So I don't have a moment like with Andre where I was like, yes, I surrender everything. Because I grew up being kind of a good kid. I didn't do drugs, I didn't drink, I didn't do a lot of that stuff. So I didn't have a lot of that to shed. But what I have had to shed these past 8 years is legalism and trying to be good just to be good. And what I have had to learn is like, when I surrender to Jesus, that means that I'm starting a relationship with Him. And so I've had moments these past 8 years, especially in my car when I see creation, when I'm driving around, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's like I'm literally in a relationship, like, you know, the butterflies you get when you start a relationship with someone. Like, that's what I had with Jesus. I was like, whoa, the God who created Mount Rainier loves me. And like, I would just sit on that for a little while and be like, oh my goodness. And that started to really change me. And then, just to make it short, various opportunities that I allowed myself to have or was given, like camps, retreats, conferences, and getting like a few people that I could talk to about Jesus, those things really helped shape who I am, help me learn about my identity, and help me grow and just learn how to navigate life. So I'm really thankful for all those things. But that's my story.
Alright, my turn. So I also grew up a church kid. I, per se, gave my life to Jesus in 2nd grade. Like, I remember, like, the teacher was, like, I was in a Christian school till, like, 3rd grade. And the teacher was like, if you guys want to, like, give your life to Jesus and be filled with the Holy Spirit today, raise your hand and I'll come pray for you. And so I did that, and I remember that, and I always thought that was it. Like, I did it once, I never have to do it again. Like, I'm a Christian now. And so I was like, I was just a really good kid, like, growing up and everything. I didn't really do drugs or anything like that either. Like, my parents, I was kind of strict, I was kind of sheltered in a lot of ways. I didn't know a lot of the things that a lot of people my age knew. And so I was like super shy and quiet. I was a super smart kid that just kind of sat in the back corner. I didn't really have any friends. I thought that was fine. I was like, I knew the Bible, and I thought I saw it from like an academic standpoint. Like, I just have to know as much as I can. And I didn't like show it to anyone. I was just like getting all this knowledge, and I didn't do anything with it. I believed in God, but I didn't. I don't know. I didn't live it out per se. And like in middle school, we moved in the middle of 8th grade, and that was really hard for me. Like, now that I think about it, it was kind of silly, but then that was like my whole world, was my couple friends that I had in 8th grade, and I didn't want to move. We were moving only here to Puyallup from Auburn, but it seemed like so like millions of miles away. I couldn't drive or anything like that, so I couldn't go see my friends when I wanted to, and that was really hard for me. I didn't really think it was a big deal until a couple years ago, and then tonight I was thinking about it, and I turned really bitter against my grandparents and my parents because they were the ones that were making us go. I lived with my grandparents, and he was buying us a new house, and we were going to move. And I was like really rude, honestly, to them. I didn't give them very much respect because I was like, you're doing something that I don't like, so I'm just going to do the exact opposite of what you tell me to. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to try to get out of anything that has to do with moving. I'm going to try to get out of it. And we go look at houses, and I'd be like, nope, I hate it. Like, let's move on. I don't want to move. And I think that I tried to make a plan for my life. Then I always like believed in God, and I was like, have your way in my life and everything. But I didn't believe it. I didn't believe He could actually take over and like maneuver my life, and I didn't have to do anything. And so like when we actually moved, I met some new friends, and they were all Christians, and it was just really, it was different. I'd never had a bunch of friends before, and like their different inputs into my life was really cool. I got to see different ways that you can live out being a Christian life. I always thought there was like one way and that's the only way to do it, but there's really not. And you kind of see that from all of our testimonies today. Like all of us have a different way that we're living our lives for Jesus. And like when I moved, I was still really bitter towards my grandparents and my parents, but I like started to accept it, and I discovered that I don't have to plan out my whole life. I had my whole life planned through high school, through college. I was like, this is the way it's gonna go. This is how everything's gonna work. And I had it like perfect. I was like, this is perfect. Like I had written it out multiple times, like I was ready to go. And then it all got like crushed, and like the papers got crumbled and thrown in the trash can. And I didn't know what to do, but I started like understanding that Jesus can just kind of like, when you invite him in to your life, he can just lead. Like he just leads your life where it's supposed to, where he wants it to go, not where you want it to go necessarily. And I was like discovering that, like I love that verse that says like, delight in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. And like as I'm delighting in the Lord, he's putting desires in my heart that he wants, which makes me want them. And that's really cool for me, because I was like, I only wanted when I wanted before, but now some of my wants are becoming his wants for my life, because I'm just pouring in to him and to his word, and to just living out like Jesus instead of just taking in a bunch of information and not doing anything with it. And I think lately, especially, like I've discovered like the wonder, kind of like Erica was saying about like the creation. You see it and you're just like blown away. And I thought like I got all this Bible knowledge and everything from Sunday school and stuff, but like just now, like in going on our Bethel trip was crazy. I was like, just to see the diverse ways that people worship and the diverse ways that people follow Jesus. I was like, oh, I'm already like following Jesus, so I can't like branch off. Now I'm like, I can do all these different things. You know, I can heal people through the power of Jesus, and I can speak in tongues if I want to, and I can worship crazy ways if I want to. It's not just for certain people. And at the staycation last year, Mitchell actually prophesied over me, and it just completely broke me. I was like, what? I had never had anything like that happen to me before, and I just cried a lot. And I know some of you guys remember, because it was kind of embarrassing. But like that release of emotion and that release of control over my life just like washed everything away. I gave it all to Jesus. I was like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, but you know, and so I'll just be okay with that. And I've struggled with that still. Now I'm struggling with wanting to know what's going to happen next, even though sometimes I don't know. But just like continuing to trust in him and that he knows where he's going to lead my life is just kind of, it's enough for me right now, and that's all that I need, because he just fills the void of like needing to know what's gonna happen. So yeah, that's what I'm walking in now, and yeah,
Hey guys. So I've been a Christian my whole life. I've grown up in a Christian home, so I was adopted when I was really young. I was adopted into the whole family, and so they'd grown up Christians. And I don't know, I was kind of the same as Erica and Rachel. They both grew up in Christian homes, and they knew about God, and they kept on, they do the right thing. That's pretty much what it was. But about 5-6 years ago, David Wally just started kind of getting on fire with God, and backstory on David. David was a bully, a lot younger. He'd come up to me, just punch in the arm, and he'd laugh, and he'd have a bruised arm, and it kind of sucked. And he's just this kind of bully dude. He's an older dude. It was Luke, Mitchell, David. They're all older guys. I didn't really affiliate myself with them. He was the cool kids, And then one day, I don't remember the exact day, but my mom said, "Hey, David wants to meet with you." I'm like, that's weird. Why does David want to meet with me? And then he comes over, and he just had this complete heart change. He wanted to have a connection with me. And I was kind of curious as to why. So he started taking me out to lunch, and he started talking to me about praying for people and how he's been going after God and how he's been loving people. It's something I hadn't seen before. I'd heard of people being healed in the Bible, right? We hear those stories, but we don't see those things. So David starts talking about those things. He's like, that's kind of strange. But, and then I kind of had to stop meeting with him because my school wasn't going well. And my mom said, David, Austin's got to focus on school. David said, okay, well, how about I come over and help him with school? And he keeps on loving me. Like, no matter what, David just kept on coming over. So eventually he took me to this camp called ATI, Awakening Teen Intensive. And as I was there, it was just a powerful time. It's something I'd never seen before. People were loving God, doing this prophetic thing, doing this healing thing that David was doing. But it was like a group of them. And they were all going after God with this passion that I'd never seen before. It was unreal. Like, I'd never seen that before. And so as we're there, a lot happened. And I pretty much said, okay, God, I want this. I want this to become a part of my life. And, it was an amazing time. It was really amazing. But, as it went on, like 3 months after that, I felt distant from God. I didn't feel close to him. I didn't have that same feeling that I had when I was at the camp. And so then the next year I went again, and it was super fun. It was amazing. But I didn't have that feeling afterwards. See, I kept on getting this feeling, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Even though I had people praying for me, I had people loving on me, I didn't have that feeling, so I was like, what's going on? And throughout it all, I've given my life to Christ, tons of times. Like Erica said, I can't put a certain time where I've done it. I've done it multiple times because I feel like I've fallen short. I've kept on feeling like, because I don't have that feeling that I had at this camp, right? And so David and Mitchell have continued to just love on me, and Mitchell is David's older brother, and they just continued to love on me and pray for me and encourage me to keep on going further in my faith. And I've just been learning, especially recently, that feeling thing, you might have it, you might not, but that's where faith comes in. It's knowing who you are. It's knowing your identity, knowing that your dad loves you so much, that he thinks you're amazing. And I know you guys have heard me say that a lot. You've heard other people say it. If you guys have watched Todd White, you've heard him say it. But it's so true, and we have to really grab a hold of that. And recently, so I've just really been struggling with a lot of stuff. And something, I don't know who said it, one of the leaders said it, that you have to put God above your best friend. You have to put God above your family members. And I just started thinking, like, what if God became our best friend? Like Erica said, she was clinging onto God. Like she was holding onto that rope and he was pulling her out of that ditch. What if we just clung onto God, like more than we clung onto our best friend? Instead of clinging onto drugs, we clung onto God. Instead of clinging onto our friends or clinging onto our plans or whatever it is, we clung onto God. And I've just been learning that recently. I need to cling onto God. And the way we're going to do that is through our quiet time. I just wanted to share that because I've really been struggling with that recently. The past few weeks has been really tough for me. But I just want to encourage you guys with, no matter how many times you give your life to Christ, just keep on following him, and no matter who you're hanging out with or what other people are trying to get you to do, just keep on loving God and going after him in everything you have. So yeah, that's my story. It's been up and downs, but God's been with me through it all. I'm really blessed. I'm gonna share one more thing. So all the leaders have shared just their testimonies, and they've shared their ups and their downs. But if you notice, all the testimonies are different. They're all coming from maybe people who didn't know God or people who did know God. So every single person here has a different background. Every single person here has different issues in their life. They have different pros, they have different cons. I want to let you know that God loves you so much, and he's going to help you through whatever you're going through. He's going to help you with your situations if you ask him. These people, these leaders have asked God, said, okay, you know when these guys said yes is when they hit rock bottom. Don't wait until you hit rock bottom to say yes to God. You gotta get it as soon as you hear it. You just gotta take hold of it and run after it. You don't want to wait until you hit rock bottom. Another thing all these people have in common is they all have someone they went to. This is really important. They had someone that they went to that could guide them towards a relationship with God. So I really encourage you to first get into that quiet place and talk to God and say, okay, God, I don't want to go to rock bottom. I want all of you right now, like right here, right now. Show me how to do that, and then go to someone. It doesn't have to be a leader here. It doesn't have to be your mom, your dad. It just find someone who you know is a strong Christian and go to them and say, hey, man, I've been struggling with this, or I've been doing this, and hey, I want to go after God, and just they're gonna help you through that if they're a believer. It can be a leader here. If it's a leader here, that's amazing. But just find a friend, find someone who you can go to, and just encourage, but also be encouraged.
You have just been listening to a Freedom Student Ministry podcast.